Slack. Okay, good afternoon. I'll just share my screen.
Yes, please. More Salsarians coming in. Funny.
Yeah, so then just thought I'd take this opportunity to give an update on CivicTheme and where we've been tracking the last 3 or 4 months and just what's new in CivicTheme and what's in the pipeline. Um, the exciting news about CivicTheme is that it was used as the base for the recent Experience Builder demo in Barcelona, which was quite an amazing demo if you haven't seen it. It's on YouTube. The less exciting news is this presentation is not about this. And I think if you've come expecting that, I'm sorry. This is more the ongoing maintenance and the quality of life issue fixes and improvements we've been making from the last couple of months. So there's been a lot going on in the background. For site builders and developers with CivicTheme since 1.8 and 1.81 and 8.2. With 1.8, we brought in a new form rendering system and a pre-processing, and I think like achieved, I guess, finally the visual acuity with the design system with the Drupal form experience. So all the form elements now look exactly as they do in the design system and without any additional markup. But one of the problems, I guess, we sort of discovered and received feedback from community was that there is a high demand for integration with other modules and Drupal core for forms and web forms in particular. And we've been spending the last, I guess, couple of months improving the form rendering system and allowing more flexibility in how we deal with the wider Drupal community ecosystem of modules and themes and core form elements. And so I'll just have a quick discussion regarding the changes we've made. Effectively, we've taken the work from 1.8 with the front end work, and we've implemented a set of supported form elements that we support as support with CivicTheme, and we've opted those form elements in to be rendered using the CivicTheme form element template. So those will all render absolutely perfectly with the design system. But one of the, I guess, but then if we don't directly support it, we've, for example, web form elements and for some, I guess, more obscure core elements, we allow the form rendering system to fall back to the Drupal system for form rendering. So we allow the contrib module to provide a template and we render using that template. And as per the, I guess, the expected methodology with Drupal is that when you turn on a module, if your theme doesn't directly support it, then the fallback template is used. And so this still allows you to override the template within CivicTheme if you want to provide first-party support within your sub-theme. It allows you to make the changes as you see fit. But it also means that it allows more form elements to work without problem because we're allowing web form basically to add its libraries and its templates for any of the more complicated advanced form templates. We've also spent a lot of time, I guess, adding in support for CivicTheme styled markup elements within forms. One of the feedback requirements from a series of projects has been that with site builders want to be able to add in markup to forms and have it render using our components within CivicTheme. We spent a bit of time supporting those components like advanced markup, where you can have a WYSIWYG rendered markup within your form and other elements along those lines. So let's get forward. So I've got a little quick just demo of the different elements. I just updated a couple of the base forms we have within CivicTheme development. Just going to run them through. So we have a simple contact form. You can see that we've got the field set title at the top. We have the text fields rendered, and then we have a contact me by telephone or email. I've just used this to demonstrate that we can now have conditional fields back, which was a big request from the community. And that's working. Checkboxes and again, conditionals, changing the fields based on that. We've now built up test forms, etc., with this work, so that these features will remain now with CivicTheme on a continuing basis. And we make sure that we hit, I guess, these functionality requirements. And a contact form, which is pretty self-explanatory. So and a multi-step form, which has been working correctly. So if you want to fill out this email test, and then etc., you can see that we can implement out of the box web forms, which are multi-step. And that sort of ties off that. The other minor quality of life issue, but that has been requested multiple times, was fixing up contextual links. Contextual links have a little drop down on the top right-hand side of Drupal. Some people use them quite frequently and rely on them. Logged in. So, yep. So that's now all working. So you can access the build, the settings, the different contextual links that are part of the edit experience of Drupal. And more importantly, within the layout builder now, it's a little bit buggy. There's some improvements coming, but you can now easily configure your layout, whereas before it was a little bit trickier to get access to the side menu over this side. Okay, and I guess finally, the other big issue in the background has been accessibility improvements. CivicTheme's now been through multiple accessibility audits with a variety of projects, and I guess a lot of effort and development has gone into ensuring that CivicTheme is accessible for all users. This is a government design system, and just in the last 3 months, we've fixed up the following issues, and there's a consistent, I guess, development effort in making sure that CivicTheme is accessible. And the feedback from audits from series of projects has been, I guess, overwhelmingly positive in the limited number of issues that has been encountered. Alrighty, so preparing for the future, I guess this is the other side of it, and we're going to be continuing incremental improvements, evolutionary changes, providing a solid, stable theme for a variety of people, developers and site builders to build on. And the other side of it is we're going to be evaluating and planning to move with the Drupal community into the big changes coming with Drupal CMS and Experience Builder. Alrighty. Any questions, feedback, discussion points? I've just got the links to the ways you can contact us, which is through Slack, Drupal project, a doc site, which has a lot of information for installing the theme and troubleshooting, and our GitHub organization for CivicTheme and the repositories linked to that.
I just wanted to add something about the accessibility issues, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So DTA had an accessibility review done on a site that they built, and they came back with about 32 issues, but around half of them, give or take, were actually sub-theme issues with their build, not with Drupal core, which was really good. I was concerned about 15 issues, but it could have been someone from DTA or GovCMS said, oh, we've had sites where we've had 1,000 accessibility issues come back. So we're really pleased that we only found a handful. Also, have had a really significant or substantial accessibility and inclusivity check done, and the feedback from the company that did that was really fantastic. They were using words like amazing, fantastic. They were really impressed with how accessible the site was. There has been some special features built on that site, but it's pretty incredible that it's come back so positive. That's it.
Any questions from anybody else? We have the DLs here, and we had so many questions about CivicTheme. Why is there not enough discussion? What's happening?
Some issues outstanding in CivicTheme. Question will be when
Can't really hear you. Can you speak up a bit, Shivan? It's very difficult to hear you.
I had some bugs that I found with CivicTheme, so just kind of wondering like how do you prioritize what the issue queue, or should I even be using the issue queue for
Yep,
bugs?
I can answer that. So any issues that you find should be added to the issue queue in either Drupal.org or the GitHub UI kit. Depends on where the issue lies. From there, we triage them and try to work through them in priority order, which, with a limited budget is not as fast as we would like it to be. So, and at the moment we are prioritizing accessibility issues, but if there's issues that are stopping people from building or doing their work, then we definitely need to know about those and prioritize them. And you can always send a message into Slack, like into the internal Salsa Slack channel or into
The Slack channel here as well. The
Drupal
the CivicTheme Drupal Slack channel as well, because that will get the rest of the community involved, and then they know that something's been reported and they can have input in it. So everyone in the community can go there and do that same thing. But, I'm always happy to get a message asking me if something's been considered yet.
Yeah. I do think that the best place would be the Drupal.org issue queue, just so that it's the most that is a place where everything should actually reside, since this is a Drupal.org project. Of course, I'm not talking about the UI kit or the design system issues here. I'm talking more about the civic theme issues.
Yeah, nothing's just reported internally in, our own Jira project anymore, unless it's just specific to our own instance of CivicTheme where we're using it. Otherwise, it all needs to be out in public.
Yeah.
Richard, I've got a question for you. So, what is the next big feature for CivicTheme? What's the next?
The next big feature.
Yes.
Well, actually, I guess my biggest focus, I guess there's two parts to that. What my personal biggest feature is versus, the feature to theme, is that I'm looking to I guess create as easy an upgrade path between the different versions of CivicTheme at the moment, and prepare a good base so that we can evaluate what's in the future with CivicTheme, and then I guess make the right decision. Like there's a lot of interesting developments within the Drupal community with Drupal CMS, etc. And I guess we're evaluating and planning out our next steps into that. Which I guess will be, ideas we put forward and discuss within the community when we get there. So, yeah.
Can you
So
speak?
nothing in concrete, sorry for the big feature. Sorry, nothing to reveal like that.
Okay, Richard, can you speak a bit more about it? So, are you suggesting that you're planning to implement, like, let's say, version 2 branch for CivicTheme with
Yeah.
potential improvements? Okay, is it
Oh, so you
just
mean like, yeah, so at the moment with the versions we're putting out right now, they're bug fixes and I guess fixing up the quality of life issues, accessibility issues, and I guess minor features and updates to, I guess, enhance people's site building and development experiences with using CivicTheme. But with the 2x and what we're going to be doing with, I guess, single directory components and experience builder and Drupal CMS, that's all something that's, I guess, still being evaluated and and thought out, and there's nothing, I guess, that's concrete. And I guess if you have ideas, etc., we can talk about it, I guess, within the CivicTheme channel and bring in discussion, I guess, regarding it.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that seems like a really good approach. Hey, I guess just maybe a bit silly question, but
Yeah.
in terms of security, how do you handle security updates for CivicTheme? Has there been any security updates released before?
Yeah, so this is one of the areas of improvements we're bringing out. We've got a security policy we're rolling out shortly. It's in draft form internally, and we're building in, I guess, automated dependency checking. That being said, and why we haven't rushed this out already is we have only two, or actually down to one external dependency, which is in the runtime, which is the tooltip library. And so there's not a lot of dependency scanning we need to do. But if part of the policy that we're developing is how we communicate if there is a security issue, and what channels we use, etc. At the moment, we would just communicate through Slack and through on the Drupal website, but I guess there's a policy being developed on exactly how that occurs. And no, there hasn't been any security releases.
Yeah, I'm probably curious about mechanism of security checking. Are you relying on GitHub, what it's called, GitHub Dependabot, or you have your own mechanism?
Yeah, that's what we're going to implement is the Dependabot mechanism.
Okay.
Just one thing, I have forwarded this theme to some of the WordPress developer just to try it out, if they can switch from WordPress to Drupal using this theme. So they really want a theme that they can build any kind of page and all.
Yeah.
The only feedback I'm getting from their side, it's a few things. Like one thing about the banner, especially about the banner, that it's lacking the slider thing or what. It's this image and all. It's very static. If you look into all the WordPress themes or something like that, it's a big feature. Then in every theme that they have is some slider as a banner, so you can add some slides and all. So maybe you can add as an enhancement or a new feature enhancement in CivicTheme, so they can utilize banner as a slider as.
I think that current thoughts around that is that they're not best practice for accessibility and usability or inclusivity, which I think prior to my time here at Salsa was one of the reasons that it was never designed in the banner or never added to that, banner area to have the slider in there. We do have a slider component, but even that's been questioned by some clients around the accessibility and inclusivity of that component. And this one particular client probably won't use it for that reason. So I think we would hesitate to build a feature that is something that's not inclusive.
But if you talk about the competitive market and if you want this to be as a business, definitely you can think about it. It's my opinion that like all the WordPress developers, whatever, I have shared it multiple developers. I remember around 50-60% who was working WordPress themes directly from some places as a paid theme or direct theme, but they always mention that it's lacking some of the feature. I can understand accessibility is on top priority, but still maybe as an add-on features or an add-on modules, add-on plugins, you can provide it's up to the client that they want to use that particular feature or not. It's not about that. It's strictly or mandatory that they have to use those slider and all.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Going, I think there is a actual feature that you can actually have slider, but it's like you have to manually click through the slides, which I didn't particularly like myself when I tried it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's true. You do manually have to click. It's not a carousel. It doesn't
yeah,
automatically
which probably
slide.
comes down to accessibility requirements. But
Yeah,
it
that's
also, you know, it also kind of kind of market CivicTheme approaches. You know, if it's small market like personal blog websites, and potentially you're looking at this slideshow kind of functionality. But for large organizations, I'm not sure if anyone using these days. So I think it's a question of which market we're trying to approach with CivicTheme. Not sure if anyone wants to add anything to that.
No, I agree.
What I would say is maybe making it easier to add customizations to Civic. I think with the banner in particular,
Yeah.
the banner isn't like a paragraph. It's not like you can just swap it out with another component if needed. So if you wanted to have a slider, it's probably a bit harder with the banner than it would be with other elements on the page. Maybe making that header section more componentized so that if you don't want to use the out-of-the-box banner, you can create your own. I think right now all the fields are kind of hard-coded into the landing page content type.
I have some questions about documentation. I've been looking through documentation, and it's like in some of pages. Is any work planned to fulfill those gaps?
Which particular documentation are you
Well,
referring to?
I don't have actual good example open, but if I open the library, what's it called?
Are you referring to content content building documentation or technical documentation?
No, I'm referring to, sorry, I forgot that name, that feature which showcase all of the components. How do you
Storybook.
Storybook, yes, thank you. So in this storybook, it shows some of new components, but there is no information exist, just work in progress or something like that.
What kind of information are you expecting to see there? Like how things are supposed to be used?
Oh, it's just filling out those gaps, those pages, so that they pretty much, you know, provide the same functionality as other pages within the storybook. I don't have examples. I might just pause them later. But
yeah, I'm not clear what you're actually asking for. But we are, well, probably Alan or Richard can talk about, you know, current discovery around Storybook. We did discuss it a bit yesterday in stand-up.
Yeah. You mean how we're going to rebuild it or what the ideas are? There's a couple of bits of work there, just increasing the speed of recompilation of CivicTheme, which Alan's been working on, but we haven't. I think with Storybook, we're looking to move out into the docs civictheme.io website. Have you been going there, Ivan, as far as looking for component help? There is a page somewhere that gives you a little bit of steer on the components and
yes,
how to configure it.
yes, I tried to look there as well, and documentation is probably all right. I'm just trying to find an
Yeah.
example to show you what I meant.
Yeah,
There
sure.
is a new version of Gitbook as well that I don't think Thomas has actually published yet, that I think has expanded on the technical documentation side of things.
I've just got to drop and come back. Sorry, my Zoom is buggy. So I'll be back in 1 second. I'm not sure if I'm still sharing or not. Well,
You're not.
He's not running away, is he?
Yeah, I'm like, yep, see you, Richard. See you tomorrow.
Another component I I was looking into, and someone asked me about the e-commerce related component. If you are providing a services which is like card stack for a maybe I can show you on some link.
Did you say e-commerce?
It's not about e-commerce, but about the pricing card or something like that, where you can provide with the features and tags. It somehow they like these are the feature that they really want in a theme to get.
Is it product catalog you're talking about?
Come again?
Is it products catalog?
Not product catalog. It's just a pricing. Maybe I can share something like that.
We don't have anything in the backlog or under consideration for that. But it's something I would definitely consider.
Mm.
Can we just repurpose one of existing components? I'm just trying to find something like without an image.
I mean, we probably could, maybe we can create a variant of something we've already got, but there's nothing that jumps out right now that would be exactly suitable. We've got a couple of things that might be usable.
Yeah, maybe like it's as part of services, normally we have this price if you're a SaaS company or something like that. So you must have these kind of pricing.
Yep.
And the slider thing that I was talking about, something like that. So, but yeah, this is the particular theme that they were using, and I asked them to use the Civic theme instead of WordPress to go with the Drupal itself, just to try out. And they mentioned everything is good. Like they can easily recreate using the Civic theme. Everything is good. The only thing about the slider that they are not able to use that theme because client really looking after this kind of banner and all.
So it's also not a carousel. It's a slider that needs to be manually transitioned.
No, it's automated.
Okay. Is there any way to stop it?
Yes, I'm not sure about theme, but yeah, there should be an option to if you can enable auto slider or disable it.
I mean, they could always make a sub theme of Civic because these are quite commercial marketing sort of business sort of components. I mean, the option is always to create a sub theme of Civic theme and make your commerce
No, but WordPress market is
elements
very
as well as
yeah, there are lots of persons still using WordPress, and just because there are lots of
yeah.
themes available that they can easily use and they can build website in a day or something like that. So that's the only reason. Like if you want those person to use the Drupal with the Civic theme, this can be a good start. Like you can provide some plugins or some of the modules. Or maybe if you don't want to include in a Civic theme itself, you can maybe provide some of the modules that will provide you this component. Okay, you can use this component in a Civic theme and it will work. I'm not saying that you always need to include in a Civic theme itself.
Is that the market for CivicTheme, or just looking at those? I mean, those two particular items in particular, as you mentioned there, Richard, like they are fairly commercially used items, and I thought CivicTheme was mainly focused on government. So if they're components that aren't used that regularly by government, because obviously there'd be a priority list of new things that you're going to build, would that make it high up the list if it's not something that's commonly done in government?
I think Kristen wanted to say something.
Yeah, so there's a distinction between what we have now and what our current focus is and what our potential strategy is for the longer term, right? So just putting my CivicTheme steering committee hat on. So yes, our current focus is government and specifically Australian government. A wider focus would be government throughout the world, so not just Australian government. But beyond that, looking at higher education or other, maybe nonprofit sort of space, as well as, those types of sites that you were showing, right? The just sort of your standard marketing sites could be a future target. It's not our current target, but certainly something that we want to keep an eye on and I think be flexible enough that we can at least entertain those common patterns that we see out in the wild and not necessarily limit ourselves. Because hoping to get more adoption beyond just government, but government is our focus now.
I think when in the future with Drupal and Experience Builder, building pages like that will be a lot easier. Right now, there's a lot of effort to get something up in a Drupal 10 environment. You have to create all the You know, content types, paragraphs, whatever, map those across to the components, build the components. That whole thing takes quite a long time. But with Experience Builder, it will cut out a lot of that middle part such that you could create a lot more components that can be used in these ways for a lot less effort. And so that's less maintenance on our end as well. So in the future, you know, it could be a possibility to support those kind of things.
Yeah, just to expand on that a little bit. So for those who haven't seen the Dries Note or some of the Experience Builder demos, the idea is to have a bunch of components that are very reusable and actually probably not go away from having like what we'd call organisms, and allow, I mean, we could have those what they would call sections in Experience Builder, but allow the user to assemble their own sections and save those through the UI, and then they can reuse those as needed. So they could make those common patterns that make sense to them that wouldn't necessarily make sense for us to build, you know, and have as part of the core product. That said, our goal is not to be just a Drupal have a Drupal implementation. So we have to also keep in mind that although there's a lot of cool stuff happening with Experience Builder, very fun, cool stuff, we have to remember, okay, but not everything's going to be done there. If we want to actually have a React implementation or a Vue.js implementation or WordPress implementation, okay, how do we also think through that, right? Because they're going to have different builder experience. So some challenges.
Awesome. Any more comments, questions? Great. Thanks everyone for attending, and see you next month, hopefully.
See you
Bye.
guys.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Everybody.